let's begin. For those of you that just joined us, if you have questions throughout the course of this webinar, feel free to go in the Q&A box and put your questions there, because I know sometimes they pop up in the middle of you watching. That's what happens to me. And then I'll come to them later. I have a special guest with us today. Sarah Crawford is here. She's my co-panelist, and we're going to hear from her later. For those of you that don't know me personally, I'm Camille Smith. I'm an LDS faith-based life coach, mentor, and teacher, and I love helping other people. It's my passion. And when I got this idea to do this webinar, I almost couldn't sleep. It was like an idea that kept just tapping me on the shoulder. Do this, do this, do this. And so this is the first webinar that I've done, although I've taught quite a bit, and I'm really excited about this information because once I committed to it, it just came. It just like flowed right in. And so this information is for you guys. I hope it will be helpful. So what else do I need to tell you about starting out? Okay, let me just kind of, hopefully you can see my flip chart here, and you can see what the outline of today's class is going to be. Basically, the name of the seminar, or webinar I should say, is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And the first thing we're going to discuss is what are your thoughts and where do they come from? And then we'll talk about why do we even care about looking at them or observing them, analyze it, what's the benefit in that? And then the third thing that we'll cover is the exciting part. It's the tool part. So I really believe that everyone has their own toolbox, and that you, as you learn things, you kind of stick them in your toolbox and you can use them for later. So that's the purpose behind the tools at the end. And hopefully they'll all be helpful for you, or even if you just use one of them and implement it, I would love to hear how it works for you. So let's get started. We got a couple new people come in. Let's see, I see Penny. Thanks for joining, Penny. And okay, so one of my favorite quotes is from Albert Einstein, and I'm going to show you a picture of him because he is on my wall, on my office. Can you see? He's kind of above Superman. He's pretty super. Anyway, that's Albert. And so the quote is, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Does that sound familiar? Not to me either. So I want to parlay this into what I call Camille's corollary, which is basically thinking the same thought over and over and expecting a different result is insanity. So maybe you can relate to that. I know I certainly can, because I've done that before. So as human beings, every time we happen upon a situation or a circumstance, we become like analyzers. We start to judge. We start to assign meaning to that circumstance or that thing that happens to us. That's just the way our brains were created. God created our brains that way, and that's what we do, and it's okay. It's fine. Okay, so the problem lies in if we get into the habit of assigning thoughts to the circumstance that don't serve us or are damaging to us. So I want to use a little example here. Can you see my flip chart there? I'm going to move this back just a little bit. There we go. And so we're going to use this circumstance as that bubble in the middle. The circumstance is a person laying on the couch in the library asleep. So I don't know if you've ever happened upon that, if you went to college, or not that it has to happen there at the library. I go to the library a lot. And sometimes you'll see that. So what happens with two different people is like a case study. So person A, who we're going to call Janet, walks into the library and happens upon this circumstance. So she sees this person laying on the couch asleep, and this is what she thinks. She thinks, how inconsiderate. How dare that person lay on the couch and take up the whole couch? There aren't that many comfortable places to sit in the library, and it's really inconsiderate that they would just lay down there and take a nap when there's other people that might want to sit there. So that is Janet's thought when she happens upon this. Let me just remind you, this is a neutral circumstance, something that has no meaning in and of itself. Now we go to person B, who we're going to call Casey. So Casey walks into the library and he sees the same scene. He sees this person asleep on the couch, and his thought goes like this: oh my gosh, that person must be so tired. They must have been up all night studying. They probably have a big exam and they probably didn't get any sleep. And oh my gosh, that is terrible. I feel so bad for that person. So you can see two different people seeing the very same thing, oops, that way, have a different take on it. They assign different meaning to what they saw. So I'm going to back up for just a minute and let you guys know, if you don't, that after your thought comes a feeling. So if we're looking at this particular circumstance at Janet, who sees the person asleep on the couch and thinks that they're being selfish because they're laying down when other people could sit there too. The thought, after she has that thought, she might go to a feeling of like irritation, like feel irritated after she sees that. Now, Casey, when he sees the same circumstance and thinks, oh, that poor person, they were probably up all night getting ready for a test and they're probably really tired, he might go to the feeling of having sympathy for that person. So that is something that he might do. And they both are kind of traveling down a different road with the observation that they saw. So let's talk for just a minute about where our thoughts come from. So our thoughts are basically a unit of energy that are created sometimes by ourselves. So if we create a thought, which we do because we are creators, and that's the good news, that we can create our thoughts, they don't just have to happen to us, is that we can create the thoughts that we want. So that's one place that those thoughts come from. A second place that the thoughts come from is other people, maybe family or friends or you name it. So I want to back up for just a minute and just let you guys know that when you were young, when you were a child, you basically have all these adults in your life, right? As a child, you're an open book. You're like a sponge. You're ready to absorb things around you and you don't have a filter. So that means when adults talk to you or tell you something or reprimand you, you just take it to heart and you just figure, okay, this is truth, I guess, and you just file it away. So maybe at the time that's helpful or useful, maybe it's not. But a lot of times when we're adults, those thoughts might creep back in our heads that we might have heard when we were children without realizing, geez, where did that come from? I know I've had that experience lots of times, especially with a certain gymnastics coach, which shall not be named. Anyway, so that can happen. The thoughts can come from somewhere else, another person. Another place that the thoughts can come from, I really believe in this world, we have good and we have evil. We have like a source of light and truth, which to me is God, and we also have the contrary to that, which is basically the enemy, who I call Satan. You might call it, resistance or whatever you want to call it. But basically, I believe that he can influence our thoughts in a negative way, especially if we leave ourselves vulnerable or if we're in a place, kind of a low vibration place where we're susceptible to those kind of thoughts. So I believe thoughts can come from him at times or from his minions. I also believe, here's the good news, that if there's evil, there's also good. So thoughts can be influenced and come from our Creator, from the source of light, from God, from the Holy Ghost. So those are just some of the places that our thoughts can come from. But I just wanted to kind of start out with that. So how do you know where these thoughts are coming from? As I said before, your thoughts or your feelings come after the thought. So you have a thought and then you have a resulting feeling. So in this situation, let's say you have a thought and then right afterwards you feel really bad. You just feel crappy and you feel down in the dumps. Go to the source of that thought that created the feeling, and then you can see, oh, okay, I think I know where this is coming from. Look, awareness is everything. Awareness is the first step in any change, and that's why I'm doing this webinar on your thoughts, is to help you become aware and mindful of your thoughts so you can see which ones are helping and which ones are not helping. So if you have a thought and afterwards you have a feeling of like buoyancy and lightness and vitality, you can assume that that thought is from a good place. It's really helpful, and it's, you want to keep that one. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us are eating a steady diet of crappy thoughts. Sorry to say it that way, but we may not even know it. We're going to get into that later. So if we are having those bad thoughts and we're feeling bad all the time, then, that's basically what we can expect. Now, there's a scripture that I love in the New Testament. It's in 2 Corinthians, and I'm going to read it to you. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, And here's the best part, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Like, oh my gosh, boom, that gives me like goosies. I love that. Because what that says to me is that when we have a thought, we can take it and we can hold it up to the light and we can say, where is this coming from? Where is the origin of this thought? And then when we do that, we have more power. We're like, oh, okay, that's trash. That's a trash thought. I'm going to throw that away. I'm going to dismiss that. So the more we are able to examine our thoughts and ask where they're coming from, the better off we're going to be. And remember, it's the resulting feeling that we have after thought that can be a really great clue. Okay, so another quote from Einstein, and I promise this will be the last quote from Einstein, and I love this. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Boom! Yes, I love that because I don't know everything. In fact, the older I am, the more I know how much I don't know, how little I know, but I do have an awesome imagination, and so do you. We all do. So I'm going to encourage you to cultivate that imagination, and we're going to start right now. So I want you to pretend that you're a world-class sleuth. Okay, so like a super duper detective. If you like Sherlock Holmes, you can use that image in your head. You can think about the hat, and you can use the little magnifying glass. And that's what we're going to be doing in this webinar, is we're going to be honing in on those thoughts that you have and being able to dissect and categorize them, because there's so much power in this activity. So why do we want to examine our thoughts? This is what I think about examining your thoughts. This is the analogy that my imagination came up with that works for me. So maybe it will work for you. Your thought starts as a seed, okay? It starts kind of underground. And then as the thought moves up through the ground, we generate feelings. Remember, after the thought, then we have a feeling. And then it begins to continue to grow into something bigger, like a tree, a flower, or a plant. And that's when we have the actions or the results from that little tiny thought. Okay, so it germinates, and then we get our feelings, and then it turns into something big. And so when you get here and you see that your result is not what you want, then you have to go to the root of it. There's a book called As a Man Thinketh, So Is He by James Allen. Maybe you've heard of that book. So I just have to ask you right now, are you happy with your life? Yes, I'm really asking you this question. I want you to answer it out loud or to yourself. Are you happy with your life results? And is there something that you can improve upon? Okay, great. Probably you said yes to that. The first thing we're going to look at is self-talk. Number one thing we're going to look at is self-talk. Self-talk is the conversation that you have in your head, the dialogue that you have. Usually it's going on all the time, and it's the words that you say to yourself, and it's the thoughts that you say to yourself, because remember, first is the thought and then comes the word. So a lot of times we're stuck in this negative loop of self-talk, and we may not even realize it. But once we become aware and we put our little super sleuth hat and we look, we'll be able to see that the words we tell ourselves are harming us. Look, you have to stop the bleeding. And by that, I mean, you have to start here and you have to look at this part of your thoughts. It's really, really important. Now, did you know that it's possible to bully yourself? Yes, I know you would never bully another person, but a lot of times we bully ourselves with the words that we say to ourselves. Look, we're human. We're all of us human, and all of us make mistakes, right? So, and that's how we learn and we grow, and that's how God made us. That's part of the plan. So if every time we say something, we make a mistake and we say something to ourselves like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I lost my keys again. I can't believe I left my glasses in a place that my dog would eat them again. You know, those are the kinds of things. Or if you call yourself an idiot or whatever it is that you say to yourself, all that does is push down at you, okay? So here's our self-talk example that I created. I'm such a good artist, aren't I? So over here, we have the person that is constantly thinking or saying negative things to themselves. So you can see all these little bubbles, thought bubbles above our head. Thanks, Sarah said I was a great artist. Ooh, I really love that. All the little negative signs in the thought bubbles mean that that person is using a lot of negative self-talk. So the result of doing that is, first of all, low confidence in yourself, inability to move forward in your life. Because look, your first relationship, besides when you come here or before you come here, is with God, and your second relationship is with yourself. You have a relationship with yourself. And that kind of goes into the whole self-love thing, which will probably be a different webinar. But basically, when you're constantly in your mind, reminding yourself of your mistakes and how stupid you are or whatever, it's like there's a force pressing you down. Your life force gets squished and compressed, and you become very small and in your shell, and you don't want to do anything or move forward because those negative thoughts that you say, or maybe you get some help saying them to yourselves from resistance, are pushing you down. All right, now let's look at the second person on the other side. So this person has gotten into the habit of saying positive things to themselves. Maybe you guys know what affirmations are. They're positive statements that we say to ourselves. Sometimes they're I am statements, and they're really useful and they're really important, very important. So this person goes throughout the day, or maybe, first thing in the morning, says affirmations to themselves. One of my favorite places to say my affirmations is at the park when I'm walking my dogs. And I just say them over and over in my head, and a lot of times out loud because nobody's around except my dogs, and it's okay if they hear. And as a result of those positive affirmations or positive thoughts that you have, your vitality gets bigger. Your self grows bigger. Your ability to influence and bring light to this world, to your family, to whoever, is increased. Yes, it starts with your self-talk. That's how important it is. All right, sorry, I could go on and on about that, but I'm going to move on to the next point, which is basically our relationship with other people. Okay, can our thoughts affect our relationship with others? And can our relationships be improved upon by transforming or changing or cleaning up our thoughts? So the thing is, humans are expert at reading other humans. All right, that's the way we're created. We are meant to interact with one another, learn from one another, influence one another. And so what can happen is a couple things I want to tell you. First, I want to tell you a little story, and the names have been changed to protect the innocent, about a girl named Polly. So a girl named Polly, this girl Polly, had this thought in her head that her Aunt Ginny did not like her. Okay, for whatever reason, we don't know the reason. It might have been an exchange or a conversation that they had that left her with that thought. So she has the thought in her head. No one else can see it. She doesn't tell people about it. It's just up there. Does that affect her relationship with Aunt Ginny or other people? Well, let's go to her feelings and her behavior as a result of her thoughts. So she thinks that Ginny doesn't like her. As a result of that, she feels kind of withdrawn and just like she doesn't want to be around Ginny. And as a result, when there's a family reunion and she sees Aunt Ginny, she doesn't get near her. She doesn't talk to her or interact with her, or as little as possible. So her behavior is different because of the thought she had. Whether or not that thought is truth or not, it doesn't matter. It does affect her behavior. And then other people, because remember, we're expert at reading other humans. Other people see that and they know something's going on. It's like when you go into a crowded room or any room and someone walks in, it's like they have a cloud over their heads. You can tell they're in a foul mood and you don't want to go anywhere near them. They didn't say a word. Who knows what their thoughts are unless you're a mind reader, but you can definitely read that something is not right there. Now, here's a fun experiment you can try if you want to see if your thoughts can have an effect on your relationships. I've tried this before. It's really fun. Pretend you're in line at the grocery store and there's people in front of you and there's people behind you, and maybe it's a busy day. You can send little love notes or love bombs in your head to those people in line. Now, it might help them, it may not, or you might not even know if it helped them, but it will definitely help you. It'll put you in a better frame of mind when you can think about people in that way. So that's just a little fun experiment that you can try. All right, so what about our finances? Can our thoughts affect our finances? Oh, heck yeah. I want to tell you another story about this. So I decided that I wanted to understand where my parents' thoughts about money came from. So I decided to have a conversation with them and just ask them, hey, when you guys were growing up, what thoughts did you have? Or, you know, each one of them comes from a different set of parents who had different feelings about money and shared their thoughts and feelings by doing with their children. And so we had a conversation. I asked each one of them. It's just a really relaxed conversation. It wasn't like I was grilling them. I really was curious and wanted to know, because our thoughts are shaped a lot of times by the way we were brought up and our upbringing. So when I had that conversation, I learned a lot about their thoughts about money and my own thoughts about money. And then when I saw them, I was able to go, oh, wait a minute. That one is just not right at all. That's not useful and it's not helping me. So again, observing your thoughts can bring you so much power. Okay, one more. How about the ability to get work done? This is a personal example I'm going to share with you. So a couple of weeks ago, I found this YouTube video on waking up early, and it was great. I usually wake up early, so that's not so much of an issue for me, but he talked a little bit about phone addiction too. And when he was talking about that part, I knew for sure, oh, I need to pay attention because I think I might have a little bit of that. So as a result of watching this, I decided I was going to keep my phone in a different place every night to charge. I usually have it on my bedstand, and it's usually the first thing that wakes me up because it has an alarm on it, and that's my alarm clock. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to figure out a different way to wake up since I'm not going to use my phone. And what I decided to do is when my alarm goes off, the first thing I do before I even check anything on my phone is I get up and I walk into the next room and I start what I call my daily devotional before I go downstairs, because when I go downstairs, there's dogs down there and they want to go for a walk. So I don't even go down there. I just go right into my special place. I read my scriptures, I say my prayers, I meditate, I journal, I read whatever books I need to read, and I start my day off right. And if you don't have this practice in place, let me encourage you to do it. It is life-changing. Anyway, so I started doing that, and oh my gosh, I think that was the genesis of this webinar, honestly. Because when I would bring my phone with me into the room where I was doing my studying, this is what would happen. A thought would careen through my brain and say, hey, you need to pay your bills today. You better make sure that you check your account and set up your bill pay. So right in the middle of whatever I was doing, I was to pick my phone up and I would check the app, and then I would set up the bill pay and I would put it down, and then I would go back to my studying. And I'd be studying or reading or whatever. And then another thought would be generated. Hey, you told your daughter that you were going to email her this information and you forgot. You better do it now. So again, I'd pick up the phone. I would, send the email or the text, and I would put it back down, and then I would go back. So for me, distraction is huge. I am easily distracted and my focus goes all over the place. And so it takes me energy to stay focused. But what I noticed when I stopped bringing my phone, which was a cause of those thoughts, in a different room, I was able to think deeper thoughts and stay focused. And that was an amazing result of changing my thoughts. Or actually, it was more like not answering the thoughts. Just because the thoughts are calling doesn't mean you have to pick up the phone. You can just say later. And if you forget things like I do, I just kept a little notepad by my bed or by my desk. And when those thoughts came up, I'd record them and then I would just go right back. Okay, so that's a possibility. Now, pick thoughts that are helpful and useful to you. If you have certain thoughts that are keeping you safe, because our brain's job is survival. It's to keep us safe. That's the number one thing that our brain does, keeps us alive. So if you have thoughts that feel important for you to keep and you don't want to pluck them out, you don't have to. That's not what I'm saying in this class. I'm saying you want to look at them and know what they are so you can change them if you want to. Now, a belief is a thought that you've chosen to hold on for a long time. That's what a belief is. So let's see. The fun part here is the tool part. I want to make sure we have time for questions. And so let's talk about the tools. I'm going to share 3 tools with you guys today on how you can transform your thoughts. So the first tool is to choose intentionally a designated time of the day. So you might designate like a 15-minute portion or an hour or maybe the whole day to observe your thoughts and record them. So I don't mean that you have to go into your room and just like stare at your forehead and try to think, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? That's not what I mean. All you have to do is intend that you're going to pay attention to your thoughts for the next hour or for the next day. That's all it takes, is to mindfully choose to do that. And then afterwards, at the end of the day or whenever, you can record them, write them down. Another good place to try this is if you drive during the day and you're going places, and I know some of you probably have little kids in the car, and maybe it's not that quiet, but so you might have to try something different. But if you're in the car, turn off the radio and just listen to what's playing in your head. That's a really good place that I found to observe your thoughts. Now, one thing, I drew this little train on the board here is because we have these thought trains. A thought train is basically one thought that immediately moves into other thoughts and creates these little linking thoughts right behind. And this happens often when you're triggered. And when I say triggered, something happens to you that you perceive as negative, your mind might immediately go to sort of a bad place. And, you know, let's say you text a friend and then the friend doesn't answer the text right away. And you start thinking, oh my gosh, are they mad at me? Did I do something wrong? And then a little bit more time goes on. Oh my gosh, this person, you know, they must not like me. I thought we were good friends. I guess we're not good friends as much as I thought we were because they haven't answered this text. So you can see how your brain could easily just go down the rabbit hole with your thoughts. Yes, that happens. So that's why you want to, when you observe and record your thoughts, look at them and see if you can find any of those thought trains. And then we can transform them into something else, because a lot of times they're not telling you the truth about what really happened. Okay. Tool number 2 is to actively choose a topic. Remember that story that I told you about the conversation that I had with my parents about money? You can do that on any topic. What I would suggest is that you choose a topic that is maybe vexing you or causing problems, if you feel brave enough to do that. Take a piece of paper. So maybe have a thought journal while you're doing this work, or a notebook that you could use for this, because this is important thought work. And write the topic at the top of your paper, and then just let your brain mull over the thoughts that you have on that topic. Now, this is not the time for you to become like wrapped up in the thoughts or to judge the thoughts and say, okay, that's wrong, that's wrong. You're just letting them kind of free form first. So if you make an atmosphere of acceptance for those thoughts to come, they'll come. But if you have a lot of judgment around them, it'll be harder to do this exercise. So let me see if there's anything else to do. Okay. Now, remember that our thinking is driving our feeling. And if we want to feel better, we need to choose better thoughts. Now, for some of you, that might be a new concept, actually choosing your own thoughts or changing your thoughts. And especially if you're used to blaming other people for the way you feel, that's a habit, and you can get out of that habit. You can change that habit. It's possible. And if you have the thought that it's not possible to do these things, to record your thoughts or to change your thoughts, that's a lie. That's what we call incorrect thinking. That's not true. All right, so once you get in the hang of doing these exercises, you'll find that it's really exciting and fun, because you'll see the fruits of your labors, and you'll see things change. Now, one more thing I want to share with you guys, because we're going to run out of time in a minute, is tool number 3 is to actually write out the thoughts that you want to have. Choose your thoughts, just like you would choose your outfit for the day. What am I going to think today? Have you guys ever done that? It's kind of fun. It's a little bit like the affirmation thing that I talked about, where you are saying things to yourself about yourself. You can do that same kind of thing. Now, one thing that I've discovered is that for me, I have learned so much from my mentors and my teachers. So I'm going to recommend that, because when you have somebody that you go to, it's like your go-to person, girl, whatever, and you need help in some area of your life, you find somebody that's doing that thing successfully, or they're a couple of steps ahead of you in the process. And then you go to them and you observe them, you work with them, you help them. That's what mentoring is, and mentoring has been huge for me. In fact, a lot of this stuff, or at least part of these things that I'm teaching you, I have learned from mentors. Okay, they have showed me how to upgrade my thinking and to think different thoughts. All right, so why I'm telling you this is so you can borrow people's thoughts. That sounds kind of funny, but you know what I mean. When you talk to people that are further along the path and you ask them questions about marriage or about weight loss or about money or anything, and they tell you things, then you can say, hey, I'm going to try on that thought and see if it works for me. I'll give you a quick example. So my youngest daughter is getting ready to leave for college in like 3 days. And I'm going to miss her. She's wonderful. I love her. And I'm sad to see her leave, because then it's just going to be me and the boys and the dogs. And so that was really terrifying to me at first. And I was having a hard time. And the things that I was thinking were, this is going to be terrible. When she leaves, what am I going to do? It's going to be awful. No one's going to talk to me. I'm going to be lonely, because my daughter talks to me and my son doesn't. And my husband does sometimes. So I was really freaking out about that. And then I watched this class, this coaching class. And one of the things that this woman said was, when she entered a new situation, she had a thought that she said to herself. And her thought was, this is going to be fun. And as soon as she said that, I said, boom, I'm stealing that one. That is my new go-to thought whenever I think about my daughter leaving for college. This is going to be fun. And so I told my husband about it, and he laughed. He's like, yeah, every time you say that, I'm wondering if you really mean it or if you're tricking yourself into saying it. And I was like, what's the difference? I mean it. I'm saying it. I mean it. So choose your thoughts, borrow thoughts from other people, and write them down. In fact, it would be really fun if we could all share some of our thoughts. I don't know how we'll do that, but hey, let me tell you this. I'm going to show you guys something. Maybe. I'm doing a screen share. I hope this will work. All right, so I'm going to Facebook. Okay, can you guys see that up there? I'm trying to show you this Facebook page that I created specifically for my women friends who are trying to live at a higher level, and it's called Power Pack. So if you guys aren't on this group and you would like to be, it's kind of a place where we can share stuff like I'm sharing with you today. Please message me or text me or email me and ask to be a part of this if you're on Facebook. All right. Sorry, I'm just looking at a chat here. We can see it. Okay. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. So that's one thing we could do, is we could go on there and share all of our thoughts, right? All right, now I got to unshare the screen. Show large. Okay, I think I'm showing Sarah right now. Okay, stop share. All right. Ah, boom. Look how techie I am. I can't believe I just did that. Anyway, so that's one thing we can do. In conclusion, I want to share something with you that I love. It's this little book. It's this little devotional book that I got. It's called Jesus Calling. And when I'm doing my daily devotional, what I do is I open this book up. It's like a paragraph per day. So each day has its own little thought. And I read it, and it's really uplifting. And it's written in the first person, so it kind of feels like Jesus is talking to me personally, which I really love. It's really cool. So this is the one that I read on June 11th, and I said, oh, I got to share this with my class. I think they'll like it. So the battle for control of your mind is fierce, and years of worry have made you vulnerable to the enemy. Therefore, you need to be vigilant in guarding your thoughts. Okay, Jesus said this, so it's important, right? But seriously, training your brain it's simple, but it's powerful. All right, it does take work, just like anything. Being positive or having a positive mindset is a skill that you can cultivate. And those tools that I gave you are ways that you can cultivate a more transformative way to think. Because when you're kind of stuck in that root of thinking the same thing over, remember the Einstein quote, over and over and expecting a different result, it's not going to happen. You have to start with the seed, with your own thoughts. Another thing about the brain. So the brain thinks it knows everything, but our brain and the thoughts that we have are not us. They are a part of us, but we are so much bigger than our thoughts and our brain. We know more. So that's why we're taking control here. And we're just not going to let the brain crank out thoughts without us looking at what they are and seeing if they're helpful or useful, because sometimes they're not and they can be damaging. And so it's worth the effort to look and change when necessary, and then we get better and then we have more joy, right? All right, so let me see what else I need to tell you about the webinar. Hopefully you guys have put some Q&As or questions in there. Oh, okay, one more thing. For you rational type people, hopefully you're all rational, but some of you will be very much like, well, you know, it's not possible to change my thoughts. This is just the way I am. And I'm telling you, there is such a thing as grace. So even though it seems like you could be stuck in a certain place, I have seen miracles with thinking change, not just in me, but in people around me. So I know it's possible. It's possible. All right, let it be. Also, if you're choosing a thought that's based solely on fact and what you've seen happen in the past, which is a pretty normal thing to do, you have to expand your brain and you have to look past that at what's only ever happened in the past. So you don't want to get stuck like that, because there's other things that could happen. There's a million possibilities, but sometimes we just think that the only thing that can happen is what has already happened. But that is not true. There's so much more that we can create, so many different ways of seeing things and doing things that are out there for you guys. Now, oh, one more thing I want to show you on this board here. So here's the way we think. A lot of times it's the here and now. So this is our thought here, but we're trying to get better and bigger. So let's say we have a really big thought or a really big dream, so big that it scares us. And we're like, I don't feel comfortable. And then you say it to yourself. Have you ever done that? You said an affirmation to yourself and your brain's like, that is so not true. You're lying to yourself. You might need to back down a few steps and kind of bridge your way up to that really big thought. Okay, because you don't want to get into this internal struggle in your own brain. So bring it down a few notches and choose a thought that's maybe just not quite as scary and make your way up the ladder to that really big one. I'm not saying you have to do this, because some of you guys would just want to jump for that really big thing and you can't. This is just an option for you. Okay, so I want to tell you guys before we get to the Q&As about what I do. Like I said, I'm a life coach, I'm a mentor, and I love mentoring other people. So I'm going to offer you guys a special. So my normal rate is $80 per session. My sessions are usually about an hour. So today I'm going to offer you guys, if you want help, if you want a mentor to help you in your thinking process or with whatever you're doing, contact me, book it before the end of tomorrow. So today's Thursday, by the end of tomorrow, and I'll give you this $60 rate. And I'm going to show you again, screen share. I guess I'm going to have to come up here and go to it. Oops. I had it there. Okay, here it comes. All right, so can I move this down? Oh, cool. All right, so go to on my website. So you guys can't do this live from your phone or your computer, but I'm going to put the link in the chat. In fact, Sarah, if you can hear me, will you do that? Will you put the youunlimited.com and go to the book now and put that in the chat section so you guys can go book there. So here, I teach yoga too. There's me teaching yoga. This is the one you want to come to. We're at the very, scroll down to the bottom of book now and it says private mentoring. So I changed my price for the next 2 days. If you guys want to try a session with me to help you get past whatever you're working on, I would love the opportunity to do it. So if you like my style, if you think this, and I meet with people no matter where, if you're local in Arizona, we can do it. If you're not local, let me stop the share. Then we can meet over the phone or FaceTime or Skype. Any of those will work for me if they'll work for you. So get in touch with me and let me mentor you if you want to. It's so fun. I love it. It is like the best thing ever. So I'm going to turn the time over to Sarah for a minute. So the other thing I do besides private mentorship is I do group mentorships, which we call class. It's a mentorship to me. It's called What Now? And Sarah and I have been teaching this together for 2 years, and it is simply amazing and the most fun ever. And we just barely added an online 6-week course. So if you don't live locally, you can still participate in our What Now online. I'm going to pass it over to her. I'm going to let her give you the details and show you some pictures. And then in the meantime, I'm going to look at your questions and then we'll answer questions. So hang on just a little bit. We're going to have you out of here before the hour is up. So, all right, let me come over here to you, Sarah, and unmute you. Oh, unmute. Wait, that didn't work. Oh, there you are.
Hello.
Look in the chat.
All right. Am I on the big screen?
You're on the big screen.
Woohoo! Okay, you're still on my big screen. Let's see if I can switch me. There we go.
Okay, it says switch to active speaker. That's you.
Okay, so I'll just talk and then that will switch to me. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we have our amazing What Now class, and I'm looking in our list here, and a lot of our girls have been with us, Leslie and Jen and Allison, and there's probably more here, let's see, that have taken our What Now class with us. And I love how many things tie in with what Camille talked about today with our class. By the way, Camille, this webinar was amazing. I'm so glad I took notes. I have a lot of like takeaways that like meant a lot to me that I cannot wait to start implementing. Like it really, I'm so glad. You're so inspired. So Camille is this inspired all the time. And our class is amazing. We take turns teaching. We teach like every other lesson, but we always are like working together while we teach as well. And this time we have our new workbook. We used it with our last group, which was really fun. So I just wanted to show it to you guys and just kind of like go through a couple little pages really quick so you can see what we work on. Oh, and I'll show you some pictures from our actual classes. And some of you guys might see yourself on here. But so we talk a little bit about creating space for transformation, for improving our lives, for understanding who we are. The idea behind the class is to figure out our purpose. We're all here for a reason. And sometimes we just need to take that time and that space and figure it out and do the work that you need to do to understand why you're here. And once you figure that out, is amazing, the energy that hits you. Like Camille, her purpose is also to do these webinars. And when she, came upon that idea finally, it like has lit her on fire. So it's really fun to see women take this class and really catch the fire of, this is why I was put here on this earth. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And maybe it's not their whole life purpose for forever, but it can help you figure out what you're supposed to be doing right now. And it's amazing. So we talk about why we're decluttering. We help you, we work on vision boards. We look back into our lives and figure out kind of what things have been leading us and guiding us on our lives. So we kind of study our own personal history for a little bit. We create a vision board for our life, and it's super fun. Let me show you guys a few pictures. Okay, I'm gonna go to the screen share really quick. And I wanna show you, this is Gail, and this is her vision board. And they can be really simple like this, or they can be more complicated. And let me see, I'm gonna do another one really quick. Here is Jen. She is working on, can you guys see Jen? She's kind of working on some of her strengths and some of her talents and her interests. And so we examine our strengths and our talents to figure out like what we're supposed to be doing, which is really helpful. And then we do some art projects. This time we're going to be doing some new projects that you might not have done before. This is a group of us doing one of our older projects that we did originally, where we use some paint and we do some intuitive painting. Allison, do you see yourself there? We also, this time we're going to be doing some doodling. I'm going to teach you guys how to doodle, and that's going to be really fun. And it's just kind of, it's also really like intuitive and free flowing. So that's going to be a blast. Let me just check one more time and see if I have another picture to show you guys of us working on our, well, here we all are. Here's one of our class groups. I don't know if you guys can see the love, but this group picture, I just love it. We're so happy this is like our last day of class. And even though we're only together for 6 weeks, we really connect. Can you see that, Camille? Oh, okay. So let me talk about the dates and everything. We have our next session is coming up August 30th. We're going to be teaching it at Camille's house again. And we have a morning class from 10 to noon and then an evening class from 7 to 9. And if you miss a class or you're going to be out of town, you could always come, like if you're going to be gone in the morning, you could come to the evening class. We do the same lesson. And they last 6 weeks, and it's $200 normally. But we're going to do, if you bring a friend, it's $150, which is like 6 weeks of 2-hour classes. It's an amazing price. And then I can't remember what we decided on our group today. You could get the group that's here today taking this seminar, webinar. They can do the $150, like the friend price, something like that. Okay. So you guys would get the friend price even if you came just by yourself because you've been part of this webinar today. And then we also have our online version that is going to be on September 8th. It's going to be on Saturday mornings. I think we're going to start at 8 in the morning locally. That way we can bring in people that are further, towards the East Coast on their time, and it won't be super late in the afternoon. And that is really amazing. Even though we're online, it's like this. We can really actually, it's even more interactive than this because you guys can chat and we can hear you and see you. And we've done this already before. It was a huge success, and we really got to know our ladies, and we really miss them too. And it was really fun to get to know them, and we'll have a little reunion with them online here soon. So anyways, you can go to Camille's You Unlimited page to find out information and to book now. And I also have a page, it's called yourbeautifulsoul.net. And if you go there, you can learn about all of our What Now classes, the ones in person, the ones online. And I also have a retreat coming up in October on the 25th through the 27th. Camille is going to be there. She's our chef extraordinaire. And also she helps, in all our discussions and our lessons. And those are really amazing soul healing art camps that kind of help you really dig up the lies that you've been believing, or also there's your thoughts too, that you've been believing about yourself that are untrue, that have been damaging your soul. And we get rid of those, and then we put truth in there, and it can change your life as well. So anyways, if any of that sounds interesting, go check out. I'll put the link on the chat too for my website. And thank you, Camille, and I'll turn the time back to you. It was good to see everybody.
All right, can you guys hear me? Yes, okay. Show large active speaker video. I think that's me. Sorry, it's gonna take me a minute to, okay. It looks like it's still on you, Sarah. Let me see here. All right, I think it's back on me. You guys can see me now. So I looked over in the Q&A while Sarah was talking, and I saw there was no questions. So I'm going to assume that you guys got what you needed and that you're able to hopefully absorb some of this information and use it. I hope that it will help you. I love helping people. That is my favorite thing. Hold on. I see something from Allison. Yes, yes. Okay. You can type here if anyone has a question. All right, I'll just wait just a second and kill some time for a minute while you guys put your questions in there. If you have any, it's okay if you don't, it's all right, because I know you're busy and you have things to do. So I wanted to just thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule to join me and Sarah on this webinar. It has been, the process of putting this together has been amazing. And I have to say, this has come because of a thought upgrade that I have done. And just shattering some things that were standing in my way, and it feels so good. And I would love to help you guys get in that place too. If you're stuck, if you feel like your feet are in quicksand and you can't move forward, please contact me and let me help you. Think about signing up for What Now. If you like to work in a group setting with other women who are like-minded and forward-thinking, this is a place. Even for those of you that have been in What Now, come back, because every time it's different. We have new insights, we have a new cast of characters, we have new projects and art projects, and just, it's amazing. So please consider coming. If you want to have more fun, come with a friend, and you guys will be giving yourself a real treat. So thanks again. I'm just going to check the chat box one more time. Okay, Allison says, I was wondering more about the money thoughts. I'm not clear how to get rid out of the negative. Okay. So the process is simple when you're getting rid of any thoughts. Most of the tools that I have taught you have to do with observing and finding the thoughts that are in the way. So let's say with money, you have a thought like, maybe your parents said to you, money doesn't grow on trees, or, we can't afford that. If your parents said that to you, or you've heard that a lot, we can't afford that. You have to look at what the thoughts are that you're saying And then you want to borrow thoughts from other people. So I can give you a couple on money. Basically with money, yes, you have to find the origin of where it came from. If you don't find the origin or the initial thought, it will stay there. And it'll just keep repeating itself. And it's like Groundhog Day, right? You keep doing it over and over. So you find it and then you change it to something else. So with money, you could say something like, you know, I receive money freely and easily, or money is easy and fun. Okay, how many of you guys have that thought around money? That's a new one that I just learned and I'm using it. You know, it doesn't have to be a scary thing to think about money or to feel trepidation when it comes to paying your bills or whatever. So you have to find the origin of the thought and then you have to recreate a new one. Or that's where the borrowing comes in handy, because if you're in that place, okay, I'm reading what she says here. If you think about where you are, it's hard to get to where you want to be if you've never been there. Do you see what I'm saying? It helps to talk to someone that's a few steps ahead so you can see what it even looks like. That's the power of mentorship, I believe. That's how I've been able to get to the next level, because my own brain hasn't been able to come up with those thoughts that I want to have because I've never had them. And I don't know what's possible. That's just me. Maybe you're not that way. The one that you just put, Allison, is great. Everything will be okay if I don't have the money that I think I need. That's a great one. So what I would say is try on your thoughts and use them. Like, see, when something comes up, it's time to pay a bill, or you know, you have to buy something like a new pair of glasses that you weren't planning to buy. Use the new thought and see how it feels. If you feel like a sense of openness or like buoyancy around it, then that's a clue that you're going in the right direction. I love the thought that everything's going to be okay no matter what. And that's not to make me sound like a person that doesn't care or a slacker, but I trust. I have a lot of trust, and maybe sometimes too much in people, but I trust God. And I trust that He knows what we need, and He knows every experience and every trial that we need to help us get to the next level. So even in the hard times where we're learning things, I trust that He's got a plan for us. So that's a thought that I use a lot when I come up against something that's difficult. All right, let me just check here. To see the possible. Yeah, not being able to see the possible or go to a place that I haven't been. I totally relate to that, because I have that same thing where I need to see somebody doing it. I need to talk to someone who has done it before, and I need to learn from them what they're thinking to get them to where they are. And that has been a breakthrough for me. So that is what I recommend, is, you know, talking to other people that are in a place that you want to be when it comes to XYZ, money, weight loss, relationships, marriage, whatever it is. Go to that person and say, hey, can I pick your brain? And see what thoughts are out there. There's so much available. We're the ones that narrow our focus into thinking, oh, well, it has to either be black or white. And we talk about that in What Now too, is thinking traps. It's not that way. It's not black and white. There's a million grays in the middle where we can go. Okay, I think we're good. Thanks, Leslie. All right, let's sign off. Thank you so much, guys, for your questions and for your comments. It's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for trusting in me. And I'm going to create more stuff for you guys because I got more. And that's the end of the webinar. So I'm going to send you guys the replay so you can watch it. I would love any feedback that you want to give me. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on. And bye-bye. We're done.